Hi and welcome to my channel. I felt I wanted to make this video today on the ego and the soul, just to give some insight on how they each affect us, on the differences, and also towards the end there will be just a few suggestions that have helped me to deal with the ego throughout my journey. I understand how difficult it can be to navigate a spiritual awakening, so I hope this video helps you in some way. Okay, so before we have a spiritual awakening, we are mainly living our lives through our mind and ego. We may sometimes have had intuitive feelings that maybe you would call a gut feeling about something, but most of the time before we wake up, we live through our mind and ego. Now, the ego's role ultimately is to protect you, your self-image. It's what makes you doubt, and fearing danger is potentially around every corner. Feeling those heavier emotions like shame, guilt, feeling victimized, lack, self-doubt, anger, criticizing or judging yourself and others. And in fact, all of those emotions that are rooted in fear. Now, this is because your ego is always looking out for potential danger that could threaten you and your self-image. So even when there is no real threat, it will still expect the worst to happen. Basically, what the ego likes is familiarity and to play safe. It likes predictability in the known, as opposed to the unknown and you stepping outside your comfort zone and trying new things, and facing and overcoming challenges. So because of this, it would rather you become stagnant, not learning, growing or evolving, because to the ego, staying put is where it's safe. And it also likes to paint a false picture, looping those fearful thoughts in your head, exaggerating, inflating a potential threat. So when you do try to step outside your comfort zone or face and overcome challenges, the ego will shout at you all the reasons not to, making you doubt and fear. So any of this sound familiar to you so far? Because for me, my ego was running the show throughout my life, and I didn't realize until I had my spiritual awakening. I'll give you an example. My life has been riddled with self-doubt. It really began from when I was a very young child. I was brought up in an extremely unstable and quite often unsafe environment. I never felt seen or heard, and unless it was to use or ridicule me, make me feel wrong for just being me, I was basically ignored. Never feeling like my opinions or feelings were heard. I never felt that I was even allowed a voice to be heard. So I grew up believing I was useless, stupid, not worthy or deserving of love, and I never felt like I belonged. I grew up used to living in the shadows as opposed to standing in the light, being seen. However, as I grew older, I wanted to change my life and my negative attitude towards myself and step out of my comfort zone and try new things. But this is when the ego stepped in and would shout all the things that could go wrong. It became that voice in my head which I couldn't switch off and kept me looping the same negative thoughts around and around. It would liken something new I wanted to do or try to something in my past that had made me feel vulnerable, like my self-belief that I'd grown up with of not feeling worthy, deserving, lovable, capable, saying things to make me feel skeptical, scared, or have me criticizing myself or abilities. It would convince me that I either shouldn't or couldn't with whatever the situation was. Now, I expect there will be many of you out there listening to this that resonates with my words, with your own stories or experiences of where you felt you were not worthy or deserving enough of being accepted and loved for who you are, living in fear of rejection. And even if my story doesn't resonate, there will be times that your ego will have kicked in and made you feel vulnerable for whatever reason. However, when you have a spiritual awakening, you will go through the process of questioning all that you thought was true about life, including yourself and your identity. You will break down those false narratives and beliefs and realize your true self is your soul. But as your ego is there to protect you, your self-image, your identity and false self, it can and will make you feel doubt or distrust at first and throughout the awakening process. You see, your ego survives through you living in fear, ultimately creating an illusion for you to fear. So when you spiritually awaken, your ego will do anything, including coming in through the back door, so to speak, to trick you into doubting that your soul is the true you. Your ego doesn't want to lose its grip on you, because if you realize that your ego is your false self, it would no longer have a purpose and be redundant, ultimately meaning death for the ego. So this realization of your true self and your ego death is often called dark night of the soul, and it can be extremely hard to navigate, but ultimately it's one of the best things that can happen to you. However, going through it can make you feel lost and disconnected, like everything about you and the world doesn't make sense anymore, turning your life upside down. But as your false self crumbles, your true self will come into focus more, revealing itself. You see, your soul just is. What I mean by this is your soul is not concerned or even acknowledges fear. Your soul only knows unconditional love, because that's what your soul is. It's not concerned with the past or the future, expectations, attaching itself to anything. This is because your soul is your inner infinite wisdom, which is part of the divine, God, the creator, universe, whatever you want to call it. Now, there are ways you can deal with your ego once you've had your awakening, and the first, probably the most important step, is waking up to the awareness that your true self is your soul. It's the beginning of the end for the ego, really, but it will still try. And so when the ego tries and you feel any of those heavier emotions, try to stand back from them and observe what it is you are feeling and why. Because if you recognize and accept that the ego is just trying to do its job, you can deflate the fear of a situation and assess calmly how to handle it. I know this may sound like an impossibility when you're in the moment, but taking a few deep breaths and being aware, acknowledging the emotions you are feeling helps, and also helps you to be aware of what the trigger is, why you are feeling this. You can then take time to do the inner work on what triggered you and why. Then through this process, the ego will have less and less impact. However, in the moment of fear and panic, be kind to yourself. Don't criticize yourself, or indeed anyone or anything about the situation, and focus on the present moment, taking slow, deep breaths. The very fact that you are taking time out to concentrate on breathing slowly and deeply will give you the time to focus. This will help calm you. And this is where, if you meditate, will come in handy. You don't need to do a full-on meditation, but being able to use those practices will help. Then ask yourself, is what you are responding to with fear an appropriate reaction, or has your ego stepped in? Be guided by your heart and soul, and please don't let yourself go down that rabbit hole of the heavier emotions. I'm not saying it will be easy at first. It will take time and perseverance. However, it is a process, so don't beat yourself up. And if you are finding it difficult, everyone does. I did. And yes, the ego and doubt still pops up from time to time, but now I recognize it for what it is. So it's a much quieter voice in the background. Be gentle with yourself, and it's like anything, the more you do something, the easier it becomes, and you will get to a place where you recognize the ego popping up and more easily get back to feeling calm and peace. Now, you may be wondering if these suggestions will really help. But believe me, all of the suggestions I have given you are discoveries I have made along the way and have truly helped me. I would never have made a YouTube channel and be here now making this video if self-doubt was still a problem like it was. I feel so much freer now. This is a beautiful journey of coming home, back to your true self, and sometimes it can be difficult. But remember, this journey is happening for you, not to you, giving you that freedom that you have always been searching for. So wherever you are on your spiritual journey and life, if you are struggling with your ego and mind and any aspect of the journey, please trust and have faith in your soul, as your soul knew when you were ready to wake up. And remember, you are worthy, deserving, capable and loved. Anyway, I think I will finish up, and I hope this video helped. If you would like more free information on this, please click on the link below where I have put together more about your ego, mind and soul. Also, please leave me a comment below telling me about your experiences on the ego, mind, soul, or questions. I would love to hear from you. And if you would like any guidance, support or help, please email me. You can find my email address in the description below. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye for now, and blessed be.